Okay, I may or may not have left that in there where I was cussing this thing a little bit, but sometimes you just can't get things done when you're kind of under pressure trying to do it on camera. So take your time with this step, getting this air horn on, because you don't want to bend anything, and it may take you several times to get it in where it needs to be. So just you got to kind of watch where these you might want to do a dry run before you try to do it with a gasket and accelerator pump and all that in there, because like I said, you just need to familiarize yourself the first time you ever done it. Actually, it sounds like I'm talking about something else, but I've done it many times, and it's still tedious. So anyway, we're ready to. What I always do is before I stop for the evening or whatever I'm doing, is I go ahead and bolt the top down. So we're going to do that, and I've got several bolts here, as you saw earlier. So I know you're probably a lot of people that, well, I don't know where all those bolts are supposed to go. Well, pretty easy. You got the two long ones. You only got two long ones. They go on the back, right back here. Now, of course, since the bottom's not on, we can't put those in, but that's where they go. And then you got all the smaller ones, and you got several here. Now, there's three that hold the bottom, the base plate on, and you'll know which ones they are. They're roughly the same size as these others, but these are the only ones that have Phillips head screws on them. So you know they go on the base plate going up. So all the ones that go in the top up here are flathead screws, and they're all the same length on these, like that. And then you got the two small ones that go in the air inside the choke housing. That's these two here. So you find those. So just simply go ahead and get these started. Make sure you have the lock washer still on these. And this air horn, now before you start bolting things down, you need to make sure that it's sitting on here flat and nothing's bound up. Your accelerator pump's working, choke rod is connected and moving. So just be easy with it. Well, I can tell I'm going to have to be doing me some editing in this video, stitch all these scenes together. I don't know if I can stand to be a movie director, because I don't like editing videos. I mean, I know it has to be done to make a good video, but I'm just don't have the patience for it. Not all carburetors have this little thing. This is just a little shield that goes over the sits right here. It's held down with these two bolts. So if your carburetor came with it, that's fine, put it back on. But if not, it's just basically it keeps the secondary side fuel from being drawn into the primary and vice versa. And also more often than that, this is open to the float bowl down here, so in cases that the vehicle may make a sudden abrupt change in direction or something like that, it will not flood it by letting fuel dump over into the secondary side. Now at this point, where our ladies getting? At this point, I'm just barely putting these screws in. I'm not even snugging them up really, just barely, because I'm going to look at this diagram. I don't know if this one has a specific sequence that you put them in. You can see there. Sorry about that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you got these two that go down in here, these little short ones. These go down inside the choke housing. Primary side is what you should say. And try to get those, don't strip them out, but try to get those pretty dang tight, because I don't think it's actually physically possible for them to go down in the engine. I think they're too large, but to pass through the primary boosters, but you don't want to risk it. I gotta go to Fayetteville, Tennessee in the morning. Has anybody ever been to Fayetteville? There's a Fayetteville, Arkansas and a Fayetteville, Tennessee. Well, I'm going to the Fayetteville, Tennessee. I have a work location I have to go to tomorrow. Got a guy on vacation this week, so. Uh-oh, he's talking again. Alright, so we got that one, and I'm going to go ahead and snug these up here. And here's the thing to remember, my usual words of caution on these carburetors is this carburetor is not under a ton of pressure inside that you have to get these screws as tight as you humanly can get them, because they're fine pitch screws and it's just going into a soft kind of alloy. So you will strip them and you will bend the air horn of the carburetor if you try to lean on them. It's not necessary. Just snug them up, man. Snug. And I go back around them 2-3 times, but especially since you don't have the base plate on yet, so that kind of distributes its force. Alright, we're going to do one last thing to this one before I cut it off for the night. Of course, through the magic of video editing, it will not be but just the next segment till I start on this again for you guys. But you take this little screw out, and this goes on the carburetor. Okay. I know it's getting late. I can tell when I start making dumb things like that. I can't understand. I'm having trouble understanding. Alright, there we go. And you put the little screw back in. Like that. I told somebody, I think it was on one of Ken's videos, old 63 Impala 2-door, I said I could rebuild one of these in my sleep. I don't think I could actually rebuild it in my sleep. I think that might have been an exaggeration, you think? Alright, make sure that works like that. You see that? Okay, that's it for me tonight, guys. I've had enough. I will pick this back up in a next day or so, I guess, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our secondary rods and hanger assembly. These are the rods. Here, a pair of them, and this is the hanger. This is this, and you've got a small screw right here that retains the assembly there. So you just I like to put my screws back in where they go when I'm working on the carburetor, that way I don't lose them. So the way this goes together is these rods come in from the outside, you just hang them in through the hole there, and same for the other one. Make sure you have a matched pair of rods, and make sure that your hanger assembly is not bent, because the objective is to have this pick up both of these rods at equal amount at the same time. So, and sometimes this can be a little bit of a chore to get this back in, but they will drop back in there eventually. Make sure they don't fall out there. There you go. Just drops in like that. It's a lot easier than changing the jets on the Holly, isn't it? There are no secondary jets on a Quadrajet. It's simply just metering rods. So you work that screw back in, tighten it up reasonably tight. Make sure it's moving the way it should. Like this. You're done. So this is a little plastic cam in here, so sometimes those will break and come apart, but it's not common. So okay, what we will do now is we're going to assemble the choke and do its preliminary adjustments. So I've put my screws back in. I've got 3 screws. The older ones like this, pre about 1980 or 81, have screws in them from the factory, so they're adjustable. But the ones after that have rivets. So what you can do is you can drill those rivets out, and these kits most of the time give you a set of 3 screws, and these are fine thread machine screws, but the ones that come with them are kind of like self tappers. So but these, like I said, it converts it over to an adjustable choke. So this is your choke assembly. This is just a very basic piece here. This is just a phenolic outside, says GM carburetor, and inside is just a metal, there's a metal cup here. This is a hot air choke. There's no electric connection on it. It's easy to tell the differences because one has an electric connection, one doesn't. So and then inside you have this bimetallic spring, and this one's got a hook. They all have a hook, but what's interesting, I notice on this carburetor, makes it a little bit more unusual, is this piece right here. Let me get my pointer. That's not a good pointer. This piece right here, this is the arm that swings up and down as the choke moves, and normally they just hook up. It's designed so it just hooks over. This thing just hooks on this. I thought I had another one in there, but I guess not. But this one has got a groove in here, so you want to make sure that when you put this back together that you have it placed in this groove. This part right here needs to go, the end of the hook or whatever you want to call that, of that spring. So, and you just put that in, and here's a really important note. In other words, this is something you can screw up if you don't pay attention to this. On these choke elements, on the hot air choke like this one, you have a gasket comes in your kit. Looks like this, a little fiber gasket, paper gasket, and this slips around and goes down, just fits in a little groove here like so, and that goes in when you install this. That needs to be in place, because as I've said multiple times, the way this choke works is it's got a vacuum source, and it pulls air through the whole routing of the choke lines and the manifold part of it and up to the choke. So if this helps seal it, so if this is not in place, you might have a vacuum leak and it may not work. So it's that simple. And on an electric choke, meaning it's not hot air, meaning it does not have a connection here, meaning it has an electrical hookup on the center of this, that's an electrical choke, not a hot air. On an electrical choke, you do not put this gasket on there, because you have to have a circuit between this and the inside part of it and this part. So it's got a little ring around it, or at least a little contact. So do not put that gasket on an electric choke. Leave it out. because you don't need it. So I'm going to go ahead and start fiddling with this here. This is kind of a, be honest, it's kind of a pain because I don't normally have to deal with these, but let's see here if I've got it. I think that's it. So yeah, I think I've got it because when I move this, I notice that it instantly moves the arm, and there's some spring pressure even going this way. So normally if it was just sitting over it and not hooked into it, you wouldn't have spring pressure going this way. So that's good. So what we do is, when you get this placed in here correctly, now here's another note, something important. It's a minor thing, but it is important because there's just a lot of little detail things that sometimes I hate this camera, but on these little screws, you'll notice that if you look at them, they've got this little load spreader, I guess you would call it, type of a thing, a little piece of metal, and it's a little piece of spring metal. And when you look at this deal, these really, they can just fall right off, so you need to make sure you have them oriented correctly on the screw, meaning of course they need to be on this way, the right way. You know, as you put them down, they need to be working their way along the edge of this phenolic plastic. But the other thing is these are slightly convex, means the center is, the ends are lower than the center is, so as you put this, you know, tighten the screw down, it pushes down on these load spreaders. So that's the little clamp, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But keep that in mind as you put this back together, because if you put it the other way, it'll work, but it won't work as well. Maybe, as UXW Bill says, you might anger the gods of carburation. So, where did I hear him say something like that? He said something about, he said, oh yeah, they were having a prime carburetor, and he said, well, if we're gonna make a direct offering to the gods of carburation. I thought that was pretty funny. I never knew there was a gods of carburation, but it sounds good. So I'm just running these in, getting them started by hand here. Now, what do I always tell you guys? I repeat this and repeat it and repeat it. But I say, when you're tightening screws like this, you're not tightening things that are going to hold a building together. So you don't have to tighten them till you strip them out, because that will happen. You just go snug. So I'm going to run these, make things a little quicker here. I'll run them in with my screwdriver, but we're going to do once we get these kind of down pretty close, we're going to do you want to take your hand and so you can move this. We're going to do a preliminary base choke adjustment on this. And so the way we're going to do this is, when you can look at your spec sheet here, it comes with your carburetor kit, and this one is let me see, find my number down here. Yeah, okay. Mine is the very last one down here on this, and you come across here, and you've got several different columns that come down. You've got accelerator, you got float level, accelerator pump, adjustment, rod location, choke rod, air valve spring wind up, front vacuum brake, rear vacuum brake, unloader. You've choke settings. So you've got you really, if you'll keep this sheet, you really have a lot of tuning information as far as making your basic settings. So a lot of you guys have expressed confusion about how to get things started, just basic adjustments to start out with. So this should help you a whole lot. Now, I'm going to come across to this last column. This is my choke setting, and keep in mind that this is just a basic. This is a starting point. And you can always, since these chokes are adjustable, you can fine tune them if it feels like it's, if you make sure that your pull off, this thing is working the way it should work. It's not busted and it's pulling the choke open a little bit, but you think it's running a little bit too rich, or you know, it seems like you start it and it runs a second and quits, and does that a couple times before it starts going. You know, you can fine tune this choke adjustment. It's not something that's set in stone here. So that should help you out with that. So anyway, I got to take a short break, and I'll come back and we'll do that. Okie dokie, let's adjust this choke for a preliminary choke adjustment. Now, looking on my sheet here, look down on my carburetor, the last one, it says that the spec for the choke adjustment is, it says 1 NL. So that's easy. What that means, that means 1 notch lean. So how do you tell what 1 notch lean is? It's very simple. You look up here on this part of the choke housing, right here, there's a little scale, and it's got a series of dots, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So you've got a center dot, you've got 3 this way, 3 this way. If you look on the insert here, it's got an arrow. It says this arrow going this way is rich, arrow going this way points lean. So you simply rotate this element, insert, whatever you like calling it, and you find your little adjustment, your hash mark, and that's right here on this one. It's right there. So it says 1 notch to the lean direction. 1 notch lean means right there. It's 1 dot past the center going that way. So that's my preliminary choke adjustment. It feels pretty good too. It's not slam tight as it'll go, but it's pretty tight. So again, you can adjust those to suit yourself on that. So no problem doing that. Like I said, you just snug these up and you're good. So that's all there is to that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sit here and think for a minute. Nope, I think what we're going to do on the next one is we're going to go ahead and put our pull off on, and I have got to go out and get my piece of linkage I left out in the garage, so I'll be right back, guys. And excuse my camera work, I got to find my pause button. Okay, just like that, I'm back. So got my linkage, and what we're going to do is we're going to put on our choke pull off. Mounts on the side of the carburetor right here. It's got a tube runs up. Now this carburetor has pulled out a couple of these little metal tubes with a vacuum line, but it's not a big deal. They should be a press fit. They should not be falling out spontaneously, so I wouldn't worry about it. If it does seem like it's going to do that, you can put a little bit of Loctite again on there. So these are simple. I've just had my 2 screws right here that retain it, and put those back in for safekeeping. So we'll take those and remove them temporarily, of course. And then this just mounts to the side of the carb, and there is when you place this thing back on the carburetor, right down here there's a green arm that sticks up right here. Take your finger and kind of push it down. You need to make sure that this is upside down, but this part of this choke pull off, this part here is not upside down either. I didn't have it upside down. Let me try that again. Let's make sure this is upside down. This part, it's got the little adjustment screw right here with it. This needs to be able to come down and pull against that arm. So make sure it's on the inside of that right here, not the outside. So, and you have a piece of linkage connects the two. The side with a tall, this side here has got a kind of a, let me make sure you're seeing this. This end goes into the secondary air door connection. So let me do this, and then you can see how it works. Take this, slip this in, there's a small hole here, it just slides in like that, connects that, and you take this, run it under this, like so. Easy as pie. Make sure it's where I told you, on that side of that, on the inside of that. This one I got to put the connector back in there, and the vacuum line connector. that's in there. See, it basically just falls back in place where it goes. So we're going to do that. Put our screws back in. Make sure you don't cross thread him. Now this carburetor does not come with a rear vacuum brake. Some don't. So don't stress out if yours doesn't have one. They don't always have the rear ones. Okay, so just kind of activate that. You see when it's full, it kind of pulls the choke flap up a little bit. Now, these are adjustable. You got a screw right here that you can adjust this so that it kicks this open just a little bit further. So you can adjust that. You don't have to leave it where it is if it doesn't seem like it's working right. So this carburetor also has a this is an idle up solenoid, I guess, for the air conditioner. It goes on the left side over here, so we'll go ahead and throw that on. It just goes, sure doesn't go like that. Got two bolts holding on. That's them here. Just go ahead and run those in. Okay, just take your screwdriver. That's not the screwdriver. Take the screwdriver. Run your bolts down until they're snug. Okay, I gotta take another pause for a cause here. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our filter and spring and filter housing back on. So this is important that you pay close attention to this, because this is one of the #1 fuck ups that people do on these carburetors. It's real important because there's a lot of leaks people have up here and a lot of screwed up threads that they have up here, and they don't know why. They think it's just some part of having a Quadrajet that there's some kind of problem up here. No. So what we're going to do is, this is the order that things go in this filter housing. First thing you want to do is you want to inspect. There's a little lip down in here, about an inch down in. You want to make sure at the end of those threads that you don't have any kind of debris in there. This one looks good. No gouges. First thing goes in is your filter spring. This is in here. If you don't put the spring in, that won't filter any fuel. Then you put the filter in. Most of these later ones after the early 70s take the long filter. That's this. It's available most any parts store. Now, you look on one end of this, there's no opening. You look on the other end, there's an opening. So which end do you think goes outward? That would be the end with the opening so the fuel can get in. So you put the filter in there like that. Now here's the crucial step that people have not known about or ignored or didn't understand, whatever the case may be, for decades on these carburetors. This is your fuel inlet, the fuel filter housing. This big thing got an opening here, and that's where the external fuel line bolts up. Now here's the missing link. You've heard of the missing link. Here it is. If you look at this filter housing, you see it's got a scarf area here. It's a recession here, recessed area, the lip. Here it is. You see this little guy here? This is a little nylon washer. You see this? They're going to go together because this is your sealing surface for this filter housing. I cannot repeat that enough times. This is your sealing surface for this filter housing. It is not these threads. These, if you look at this, filter housing, it does not have taper threads on it. Okay. So that's why if you don't put this on here, you're going to get a leak. And it won't matter how tight you try to tighten this, you'll tighten it till you strip it. It will still leak. So don't throw this away. Don't throw it away. Don't give it away. Don't eat it. Don't hang it on the wall. Don't flush it down the commode. Don't let the dog eat it. Put it on the end of this thing. And what happens is, these things are a little bit of a tight fit sometimes. This one wasn't. I've already trial fit this one. But what you can do to get this thing on there without tear, you don't want to scarf it up, is you can get a little bit of hot water and microwave some hot water in the microwave, and throw this thing in it for a few minutes, and it'll expand a little bit. Then you can just take this and put it right on here like this. Do you remember what I said 2 minutes ago? I said this is your sealing surface for the filter housing. There it is. Filter with a valve going out. Like I said, guys, I'm not trying to be a dick about saying things like this, but this is information that people need to know. So this is, make sure this goes in straight. Now, if you've already boogered threads up, you can buy one of these that's actually got tapered threads on it, cuts new threads. But we don't need to do that on this one. Now, finger tight, I'm going to take my wrench. And I'm not going to lean on this thing like I'm trying to tighten a fitting on the Boulder Dam or something. I'm just going to snug it up. That's it. That's all you should have to do. Snug it up. Okay? That's it. Hope you saw that. And again, a little bit. That's it. That's it. That's all you should have to do. Doesn't have to be that tight. So, anyway, I'm going to do one other detail thing. This is then I've got to turn this over, and I've got to seal up the well plugs on this. I should have actually done that in an earlier step. You can do that before you assemble. It doesn't matter, though. Whatever order you want to do it in. But what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and put this one. This is my choke tube fitting. And that thing goes again. Stupid camera. This is my choke tube fitting. This goes in the back right here. So, you know, sometimes, like I said, some of these tubes tend to pull out, but this one's pretty tight. It just wasn't as tight as the hose that's on it, because this is the original hose. So, and once again, this is not a vacuum line per se. This is where the choke system draws its clean air in. It just comes right in. If you look down in the top of this carburetor here, you go right there. That's your fitting for it. Right, it comes right in here. Doesn't go to engine vacuum. So don't hook any other vacuum line up to this. Don't hook one from down here up here. It doesn't go there. So, all right, guys, we did that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this thing over, and we're going to deal with these well plugs. And your well plugs are these guys right here and these right here. So what I do, I've got a little bit of JB Weld and mix up 2-part epoxy. Make sure you use something like JB Weld. Don't use super glue or something like that. And we're just gonna cover these with a good coat of JB Weld. And these actually look like they had been seeping fuel a little bit. These secondary plugs, and honestly, this is the first one of these I've ever seen that leaked here. You know, everybody says they have a bad reputation for that, but that's the first one I've seen. So we'll do that, and we'll let that dry, and then we'll put the base plate and whatever other little odds and ends may need to go back on. I think that's about it, though. So now, normally, like I said, I would have done this if I remember. I just completely forgot about doing this step. So normally you want to do this before you put the carburetor together. So I hope you took my suggestion and read through this video, played it through first before you did this job. So okay guys, well, appreciate you watching this far, and I'll do this and I'll show you what that looks like after I have that sealed up. So, and we'll go from there. Talk to you then. Okay then, so this is what it looks like after you've used your choice of two-part epoxy and sealed these well plugs up here. Just give it a good coat like you're icing the cake, and the primaries as well, this one over here. And you need to let this thing sit overnight before you use it. Let this epoxy cure well. So that's it guys, until we let that cure, and then we'll put our base plate on and we'll finish this thing up. So tune in then, and you'll see this in the next part. Okay, we're ready to put on this base plate. So what we're going to do, you got your base plate gasket here. So you simply take a look at it, make sure you're going to put it on the right way. This one goes they only really go a certain way, so you just go ahead and slip that on. Got a couple of locating tabs here, pegs, whatever you want to call them. So one thing to note is I take a little shortcut so I don't have to disconnect this on this base plate, this accelerator pump rod here, because it involves driving out this little arm up on the top of it. So I try not to do that. So you can just kind of, I'll show you how I'm going to do that here. But one thing is your chart, again, you refer back to this chart and it will show you how to put this on, and it'll tell you the list. It says if it's got two holes right here, which this one does. Most of them go in the inner, some of them go in the outer, but this one goes in the inner. So inner, outer, inner, outer. Put it in the inner if it says so. So all you're going to do is you're going to get this ready to go on, and I'm going to kind of just finagle this accelerator pump rod back in there carefully. Right, got that back in, so I'm just gonna simply sit this back on like so. Make sure it's sitting on there the right way. It is. You got 3 screws go in the bottom, these 3 small ones that have the Phillips head, so you put those in there like so. One in the front, tighten those down. Do it evenly, don't tighten one all the way down, just kind of come around them. And your last thing you're going to do for this step is you're going to flip it back over, and you're going to put your 2 long screws in the bottom back. I'm sorry, at the back on the top. Run those in with your flat blade like that. Put your air cleaner stud in, put your air cleaner gasket in, you are done. That's how you do it. Thanks so much for watching guys, and please ask any questions you need to on this video or the Rochester Quadrajet video, question video. Be glad to answer you. Have a good one. See you later.